We're going to start in a seated position, in a moment of stillness, to bring attention to our breath. Before we do that, I want to encourage you to find comfort in a seated position. So the main purpose in your seat would be to allow the spine to be upright and long, extended. With that, you allow the energy flow from the bottom of your pelvis up towards the ground of your head to move freely. So if you have tight hips and you struggle to find that length in your spine because you kind of roll away from your sit bones more towards the sacrum, help yourself with some props. You could use a block and pop that underneath your sit bones. And if you don't have a block, don't worry at all. You could use a pillow, a pile of books, anything you have at home which would help you to sit up a little higher. This automatically allows your hip flexors to ease. The pelvis can tip slightly forward, so it comes into a neutral position. And that allows the spine to find that graceful posture up towards the ceiling. Allow your shoulders to drop away from your ears, to let go of any tension you might be holding in your neck or your jaw. Relax your face. And then when you are settled and you are comfortable, join me by closing your eyelids down. And as you close your eyes down, feel how it is the invite for the back of your eyes to open up, to turn the gaze inwards, to start this journey of self-study. Start that journey of discovering your inside world, withdrawing yourself more and more from the external to really become aware of what's going on inside of you. And as you drift more and more into the body, start now to notice your breath. And in the beginning, let it be just that. You notice it, but you don't change it yet, you don't manipulate it in any way. Where can you feel the breath within the body? Can you feel the movement of it? Maybe a tickle of the hair in the nostril. Maybe the breeze on your upper lip. Where is lack of breath within the body? Where do you not feel it at all? Does your breath feel free and extended? Or does it feel maybe a little short and shallow? Just observing. There's no need to label it as good or bad. Just taking it in as it is. And from that space of no judgment, let's now start to lengthen the breath. Very gently. It's more like an invite of the breath into the body rather than forcing it. Drawing the breath more and more towards the stomach, allowing the stomach to expand. From here, drawing the breath up into the chest, allowing the chest to expand. And if you exhale out, feel how both chest and stomach drops and sinks back down. Taking another extended breath. Feeling the journey of the breath going into the stomach, from the stomach into the chest. And feel how everything sinks and settles and drops as you exhale out. Stay with your own rhythm. Be true to yourself, don't overdo it. Let it happen in a very natural way. So there's no need to feel as if you're holding your breath. Once you've found your own rhythm, I invite you now to add a gentle count to it to even out the breath. So you might want to count to 3 or 4 or 5 when you inhale. And then try to stick with the same number you used when you exhale out. So your inhale is the same length as your exhale. We call that the even breath. Samathriti, which creates a beautiful balance within the body. A balance of yin and yang, give and take. It levels our inside world. And stay here for another 3 rounds of full cycles of breath. And then let go of this breathing technique and return back to just a normal breath that is not guided. And simmer here in the after effect of it. What did that do to you? Do you feel maybe a little calmer through the body, through the mind? Do you feel like the mind sank into the body and the internal chatter has slowed down just for a little bit? Know that the breath always can bring you there. Whenever things are getting a little bit too hectic, you always can use your breath, even if it's just for 30 seconds, to pull yourself away from the external, to pull yourself out of your head, and to bring yourself into the body. And that's exactly what we do in our asana practice as well. We use the breath as we add in movement to pull ourselves out of our head into our body. So you will hear me talking a lot about the breath as we move throughout the asana practice. Wonderful. Glide your hands now towards your knees and cup them with your hands. And start to circle your shoulders over your pelvis. It is a free movement. There's nothing you can do wrong. Any movement is allowed. Whatever feels right for you, go for it. Don't overthink it. No one is watching. You can do whatever you want to do. Reverse the direction. You don't have to mirror your movements. If you come up with something new, that's totally fine. But circle your torso the opposite way. Let's go for one more circle here. And then come back to center, stacking those shoulders on top of your hips. Now free your hands, bring them over your head. Take a deep breath with you. As you exhale out, place your right fingertips down to the side, alignment with your right hip, and then reach with your left fingertips into that same direction. As you reach long, keep that left shoulder rolled back so it sits on top of your right shoulder, and stay grounded and press down through the left side of your pelvis. Stay here for one more breath. With an exhale, engage, contract, and lift yourself back out of it. Reach with both of your fingertips back up towards the ceiling to remind your spine to stay nice and long, and then place your left hand down over to the left side. Keeping that right shoulder rolled back as you reach with your right fingertips past your ear towards the opposite side. Now it's your right pelvis that stays grounded and pressed down into earth, so you extend your right side body from two ends. Slowly taking another breath into the right side body. With an exhale out, contract and lift yourself back out of it. Beautiful. Bring your hands down in front of your shin bones. Lift yourself off the block if you used one, or come off the floor and find your way into a tabletop position on your hands and your knees. Have your hands placed underneath your shoulders here and your knees placed underneath your hips. So the knees are hip width distance apart, and then have your feet hip width distance apart as well. So your shin bones are traveling parallel to the long edge of the yoga mat. Spread your fingertips apart, press the fingertips and the knuckles of your hands into the ground. Seal the shin bone and the top of the ankle down into the floor. So there is action in my legs. And find with that the connection downwards, your roots into the floor. From here, start now to widen your sit bones to the back of the room. With that, your pelvis kind of tilts forward. Let your belly button drop. Press the chest through your arms towards the front. It's almost like you're pushing the back of the heart into the front of the heart. And then lift the crown of your head up high to find your cow stretch. With an exhale out, do the opposite movement. Start at the bottom of your pelvis. Squeeze your sit bones towards another. Draw your navel towards your spine and start to curl your tailbone under. So the top of my spine is still arched as I start to round the bottom. Once I ripple further up along my spine, I join with my upper back. Draw the nose towards your pubic bone and round as much as you can for your cat stretch. Release again with an inhale, starting at the bottom of the pelvis, arching the back, rippling up along the spine. Come into another cow stretch. Inhale. With an exhale out, tuck your tailbone under, curl your belly button into your spine, Draw your chin towards your chest, magnetize the tip of the nose with your belly button. Let's do that one more time, focusing this time more onto your breath as you go from cat into cow pose. And then from cow pose towards cat pose. Reset and come back to a neutral position from here. Beautiful. Tuck your toes under. Pull those toes as much towards your shin bones as you can. Keep on pushing through your hands through all corners and fingertips, and then float your knees just a centimeter off the ground. Sit your bum back down towards your heels. From here, start then to lift the heels up high, but keep your knees bent. Push into your hands so the shoulders glide more and more away from your wrist. Keep those knees bent, very obviously. So it is a little bit easier to bring the chest and the rib cage towards those thighs. Relax your head and align your ears with your arms. Stay here for one more breath. We don't even label or name that shape yet. Just feel it as it is. And then release and begin to walk your feet towards the front of the yoga mat, towards your hands. So the knees still can be bent, so we can keep those hands down and grounded as we crawl forward. And let that act of crawling forward be a thing instead of skipping it, drifting away with your mind. Can you feel how your feet connect, how it feels to get closer to the hands? Once you arrived at the top of the yoga mat, drop everything. Hold the opposite elbow. Relax the back of the neck. Relax your face and just sway from side to side. Beautiful. Coming back to center, let your arms just drop. With a rounded spine, find your way up into a standing position. Draw, like in cat stretch, your belly button towards your spine. Vertebrae at a time start to rise high and high at the very top. Shrug those shoulders towards your ears. And then over the ears, roll them back down along your back so you find broadness across your chest. Hands placed beside your hips, feet are still hip-width distance apart, and all 10 toes are looking forward, so the heels are hiding behind the toes. In today's class, we're going to focus on the basics, the foundations of yoga. So I'm going to run you through sun salutation, you might have heard that before, and vinyasa. It's kind of the two foundations yoga flows build up and around of. So I want to use that first practice to get clear about the sun salutation, the alignment in the asanas of the sun salutation and vinyasa. So you know what we're talking about when we move on. Let's begin here in our mountain pose, Tadasana. Rise with your arms over your head. Take a deep breath in as you do so. Try to keep your pelvis neutral. With an exhale out, open your arms to the left, right, outside. Slingshot your heart forward, so lean forward, keep your spine nice and extended. And then dive over your legs, coming into forward fold. With an inhale, come into a half lift. So let's slow it down here a little bit. For your half lift, bend your knees enough that your hands can stay on the ground and shuffle them a foot length away from your floor. If you have blocks at home, feel free to use them underneath your hands. If you have the flexibility to have the legs straight, feel free to keep the legs straight. However, our spine wants to be long and not rounded. So sometimes bending the knees and lifting the sit bones to the end of the yoga mat does actually more than having the legs straight, but curling the tailbone under. Let's come into this half lift. Inhale. With an exhale, fold back down over your legs, letting the hands slide back towards the toes, bringing the nose between the knees. Another breath in to come back into a half lift, leaning into the toes, extending the spine. From here now, free your right foot. Plug your right thigh into your right hip joint. Stream that right leg right to the end of the yoga mat. By bending into the left knee, step that right foot right down at the very end of the yoga mat. Drop your right knee down towards earth. Sweep your arms back and around to come into a kneeling stand. Bring your pelvis into neutral position. By activating the core, draw your pubic bone up towards your belly button and firm your bum. Keep your arms placed beside your ears. Take another breath in. With an exhale, sink down towards that left heel. Sometimes what can happen is that you drop in a lower back because you let the energy leak through your stomach. So connect again, pubic bone with belly button, firm your bum, and feel how this really brings all the effort of it in that right hip flexor. Stay here for another breath in. With an exhale out, open your arms to frame that left foot. Tuck your right toes under, float that right knee off the floor, step it back. Let's come into a downward facing dog. Beautiful. Our downward facing dog, a posture we return back to a lot. And it might not feel like it, but down dog is actually a restorative shape. So in the beginning, if you feel like this is hard work, don't be discouraged. It's normal and it will feel like home eventually. Come into high plank for now. I want to show you how to find the right distance between hands and feet in your downward facing dog. So when you are in your plank position, have your shoulders placed on top of your wrists, your heels on top of your toes. Don't change anything of this and glide back up into your downward facing dog. You are now in the perfect position of hands and feet. In our downward facing dog, we want to have the spine extended and long, which means sometimes you just have to bend those knees because the hamstrings are too tight. So know that you're not doing it wrong when your knees are bent. It's about extending the arms long. Let your head hang, say yes, say no with your head. Try to work those heels down towards the floor. So again, by bending the knees, you might be able to get those heels a little further towards the floor. Let's sync up our breaths. Inhale into the stomach, into the chest. With an exhale out, it's almost like the breath is spreading, radiating out into all directions. Press hands and heels even more into the ground. Start now to lift your heels up high. Draw your chin towards your chest, curling everything in and up. It's the back of your throat that pulls you through a cat stretch or tiger curl back into high plank. Locking everything in here. Connect your hips with your ribs. Drop down onto your knees. Keep the front of the hips straight. Bend your elbows to the back of the room and come into low plank, Chaturanga Dandasana. Wonderful. Then sink all the way down, come on your hips, come onto your stomach, untuck your toes and place those feet long down on the floor. Bring your hands underneath your elbows. So sometimes they land somewhere underneath your shoulders. Bring them a little further back down. It almost feels too far, awkward, but you're in the right spot. And then draw your elbows towards another and feel how this movement is also received by your shoulder heads. And they curl back. Your collarbones start to smile. Push the feet into the ground, lift the kneecaps off the ground, press the pubic bone into the ground and draw the navel away from the floor as if there's a cold ice cube and it's too cold and you want to suck the stomach away from it. That's it. Feel how this is actually charging, empowering, how all those muscles along your back are kicking in and they support your back even though we're bending backwards. So it's not the lower back that takes all the load. Stay here for one more breath. With an exhale out, drop those knees back down into the ground. Grip the floor with your hands. Push into your hands and your knees and glide back over your heels to come into child's pose. Round your way back up. Come on your hands and your knees. Inhale. Tuck your toes under. Find your way back up into down dog. So activate your core. Float those knees off the ground. And then start to push your hips in a diagonal up towards the sky. Remember, it's about extending the spine first. Legs can be bent and stay bent. Have your head relaxed. Connect your toes at the end of the yoga mat. So close your big toes towards another. Press down into your hands and your left foot first. So you know your roots, you know your strong foundation. From here, lift your right leg up high towards the sky, coming into a three-legged down dog. From your highest point, bring your knee towards your chest. Bring your shoulders over your wrists. Lift the front body and your back body. And then as good as you can, bring that right foot forward. Wherever it landed, grab it with your right hand and step it all the way through so your toes are in alignment with your left hand. Come back down towards earth with that left knee, untuck your left toes. Sweep your arms back and around to come nice and tall into your low lunge. Bring your pelvis into neutral position. Firm your butt, inhale. With an exhale, sink down towards that right heel. Take another breath in to bring a little lightness in the shape. So you're not just like jamming your joints. There is there is strength behind it. There is muscular engagement behind it. Beautiful. Let your hands come back down to frame that right foot. Tuck your left toes under, lift that left knee off the floor, and then step it to the front of the yoga mat. Left foot meets your right foot. Come into a forward fold here. Let's come once more in our half lift. Inhale. So remember, we want to lengthen our spine forward. Give a little more weight into your toes. Squeeze your sit bones towards another. Squeeze your shoulder blades towards another. Engage through your core and then place your hands by your hips. So it's like a tabletop position created with your torso. From here, press into your feet. Squeeze sit bones even more towards another and rise up, bringing the arms over the side, over your head. Connect your palms above your head and then bring your hands towards heart center. Samastihiti. So this was our first sun salutation with a few variations here. Let's do the same thing on the other side. Reach with your arms up high. Inhale. Open your arms to the left, right, outside. Lean into your toes. Reach with your heart forward. Try to keep your sit bones on top of your heels. Come into forward fold. Letting everything just drop. Feel how gravity can pull you. Come into a half lift. Inhale. Extending towards the front. With an exhale, fold over your legs once more. Hands slide back towards the toes. Let's go for one more round. Inhale, lean into your toes. Extend your spine to the front. Stay here now. Right knee can be bent so you can float that left foot off the floor. It's as if you're plucking your left thigh into your left hip joint. Then step your left foot all the way to the end of the yoga mat. By bending into that right knee, find the footprint at the end of the yoga mat. Drop your left knee down towards earth. Untuck your left toes. Let's be back in our low lunge. Arms overhead, arms placed beside your ears, pelvis neutral, firm your butt, sink down towards that right heel. Take another breath in to extend from the left knee all the way up into your fingertips. With an exhale out, maybe sinking a little deeper into a new created space that has opened up for you. Letting go of your hands, place them back down to frame your right foot. Tuck your left toes under, step back into your downward facing dog. So as you can tell, when I float my left knee off the floor and I have my hands underneath my shoulders, this is already the right distance as if I'm in a plank, only that my right foot is still at the front. But I don't have to change anything. I just have to step that right foot beside my left foot and I'm in my perfect distance for my downward facing dog. Place your head between your arms. Maybe the body has warmed up already and I can straighten the legs a little more. Maybe not, and that's fine. From here, let's begin with our vinyasa. So another thing you hear a lot in yoga. Vinyasa is that sequence from the down dog into high plank, low plank, cobra, and then back into down dog. Let's do this together. Lift your heels up high, draw your chin towards your chest. Feel how the back of your throat pulls you forward, coming into high plank. Stay here for a moment and simmer in your own strength. This is an exhausting, tiring exercise, but it's so beneficial. Let's work on our cues here. So connect the front of your hips with your ribs. Draw them towards another. Squeeze your butt and lengthen your tailbone towards your heels. Last thing, bring your shoulders over your fingertips. From here now, changing nothing but bending the knees, drop the knees down to the floor. So don't stick that butt out. Keep your ribs and your hips connected. Bend your elbows to the back of the room and with that lower your chest down towards the floor. You don't have to catch yourself. You can go all the way down. Beautiful. Then untuck your toes. Come into baby cobra. Bring those hands back underneath your elbows. Draw elbows towards another. Broaden through your chest. Take a breath in. Push through your hands, through your knees. Glide back, come into child's pose. Exhale out. Round your way up, come in your hands and your knees. Inhale. Tuck your toes under, glide your hips up high. Downward facing dog. Connect your toes at the end of the yoga mat. Free your left leg. Reach up high, but don't forget about your roots. Keep on pressing down through your right foot and your hands simultaneously. Bend your left knee. Pull it towards your chest. Move your shoulders over your wrist. Press the back of the heart up towards the sky. Step your left foot through. If it didn't land between your hands straight away, use your left hand and pull it forward until your left toes are in alignment with your right fingertips. Drop that right knee down towards earth. Let's go back into our low lunge one more time. Inhale to rise. Pull everything towards the center lines. Firm your butt. Sink down. Exhale. Stay here for another breath. Inhaling space within the shape, making the shape come alive. Exhale, sink a little deeper. Bring your hands down towards earth. Frame your left foot. Tuck right toes under. Step that right foot to the front. Come into your forward fold. Try to align your sit bones with your heels in your forward fold. So often we rest in our heels, which is not unusual. But can you pull yourself out of your heels and tip yourself a little more into your toes? Once again, you don't have those knees locked. They always can be a little bit bent. It's fine. Place your hands by your hips. With that, come into that half lift. Shoulders in alignment with your hips. Squeeze your sit bones towards the mother. Lift up, rise, stand nice and tall. Connect your hands above your head. Bring your hands towards heart center. Samasthiti. Well done. That was 2 sun salutations combined with vinyasa. Vinyasa is part of the sun salutation. Let's go for another 2. We're going to move a little faster, and I bring the focus now to the breath. So you get a feeling how the breath within yoga is actually liberating. It makes effort easier. It adds the ease to the effort. So even like harder postures feel free and liberating. Let's begin here. Lift your arms over your head. Take a deep breath in. With an exhale out, open your arms to the side. Slingshot your heart forward. Come into your forward fold. Inhale, half lift. Free your right foot and step it right through to the end of the yoga mat. We change it up a little bit. Stay lifted through that right knee. Sink your hips down towards the floor. Lift your heart through your arms forward and upwards. Take a breath in. With an exhale, step it back. Come into your downward facing dog. Lift your heels up high. Draw your chin towards your chest. Undulate your way into high plank. Unfurl in high plank and find strength. Lock everything in. Squeeze that butt. Drop on your knees. Bend your elbows to the back of the room to come low. With an inhale, sink hips and thighs down to the floor. Bring your hands underneath your elbows. Push the top of the feet into the ground. Lift up high. If you want, if your lower back feels happy with it, come a little higher, but keep a bend in your elbows here as well. Tuck your elbows into your rib cage as if you're squeezing your rib cage and stay here. From here, sink your hips back over your heels once more. Coming into child's pose. Round your way up high on your hands and your knees. Inhale. Tuck your toes under. Push into your hands. Slide all the way to the end of the yoga mat. Come into downward facing dog. Let's stay here and talk down dog for a second. So in your down dog, we want to have our spine extended. Knees can be bent. Another thing is that we want to keep our neck broad. So without changing the position of your hands, can you start to spiral your bicep towards the front and hug the tricep inwards. And this is probably felt more by your shoulder blades. The shoulder blades glide to the outside of the rib cage as we spin our bicep forward and the tricep backwards. I know it might feel a little awkward in the beginning, but give it a feeling. The feeling in your hands is as if you open a very tight jam jar. So the right one you would twist to the right, the left one you would twist to the left. However, they don't really move. But this twisting movement with your hands being pressed into the ground will give you also some better understanding of twisting or spiraling those upper arms. All right, enough here. Connect again. The big toes at the end of the yoga mat. Float your right leg up high to the sky. Take a breath in. With an exhale, curl your right knee into your chest. Shoulders over your wrist. Tiger curl. Lift up towards the ceiling first. Maybe this time, the foot comes already a little further through. Beautiful. Stay here grounded through your feet. Lift your arms overhead. Come into your crescent lunge. Arms up high. Inhale. With an exhale, sink a little more towards the ground by bending that right knee a little more. Keep on pushing your left heel away. Have your pelvis neutral. Hands down towards the floor to frame your right foot. Step your left foot beside your right foot. Come into a forward fold. Place your hands by your hips. Sweep your arms back and around. Stand nice and tall. Inhale. Bring your hands towards heart center. Samasthiti. One more round on the other side. Inhale to extend from the feet up towards the ceiling. Open your arms to left, right, outside. Slingshot your heart forward. Come into your swan dive. Come into half lift. Inhale. Free your left foot and step your left foot right through to the very end of the yoga mat. Toes and fingertips of the right foot are in alignment. Sink your hips down to the floor. Pull your chest through your arms. Lift your heart up high to the sky. Strong core. Step your right foot back beside your left foot. Downward facing dog. Lift your heels off the floor. Draw your chin towards your chest. Undulate your way into high plank. Lock everything in. Be strong. Drop your knees down to the floor. Keep the booty squeezed. Elbows bent to the back of the room. From here, slide onto your hips, onto your thighs. Draw your elbows towards another baby cobra. If you want to go higher, come into full cobra. Stay charged through your back. Push through your hands and your knees. Come into child's pose. Push your hips back over your heels. Round your way back up. Come on your hands and your knees. Inhale. Tuck your toes under. Move shoulders behind your wrists. Keep on gripping the floor. Maybe twisting those jam-packed jam jars as you push your hips over your heels. Connect your toes at the end of the yoga mat. Free your left leg. Lift it up high towards the sky. Take a breath in. With an exhale out, curl your left knee into your chest. Move your shoulders over your wrist, step left foot through between your hands. Keep that right knee off the floor, sweep your arms back and around to come all the way up, standing nice and tall. Inhale. With an exhale, sink a little deeper into it. Beautiful. Taking another breath in. With an exhale, place your hands back down to frame your left foot. Step your right foot beside your left foot, come into a forward fold. Relax your head. Soften your knees, place your hands by your hips. Stay heavy in your toes. Rise up, come back up, nice and tall. Inhale. Hands to your heart center. Samastihiti. Beautiful. Stay here with me. Place your hands by your hips. Close your eyes. And then drop all of your tension once again into your body. Go straight there, no detours. What can you feel within? Can you feel how oxygen-loaded blood is streaming through your veins? How spending time inside of the body and like feeling how some sort of rotations and adjustments and engagement can really bring you into the body and away from the thing that is going on around you, or maybe even some worries that you are having on an endless loop in your head. And how this distraction is not just only beautiful because like we study ourselves, but it's also beautiful because it brings us into that moment of bliss where we actually are fully present and we stopped thinking for a moment. That's where we feel happy, that's where we feel satisfied and contented. So maybe even if this is not the main purpose of your practice, but mainly just because you want to stretch the body, give that some benefit to or some acknowledgement and feel how this is actually such a wonderful side product of yoga. Maybe secretly it's the main product. We will see. We will find out over the next 14 days. So just stand here for another 2 mindful breaths. Maybe coming back to Samasthiti, even breath, inhaling as long as you exhale, and vice versa. And then when you're ready, blink your eyes back open, come back to the room, maybe shake it loose. Well done. First day done. And isn't it like that the first day is often the hardest day? I'm very proud of you for showing up for yourself, for starting this beautiful journey, and I'll see you tomorrow again. From my heart to yours, thank you very much and namaste.